I think we're on. Okay, what is up? Oh, excuse me. Social media. Freestyle Friday. Of course, I open up with a silent burp. All right, so Instagram, what is going on? Freestyle Friday. I'm one of your hosts today, I'm Kadimah. Now, we have a very, very special guest with us today, the owner and founder of Fusion Whole Body Recovery, Jennifer Duranczyk. Welcome her, please.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on.
Thank you. Facebook, what is going on? We are here. We are here. So, guys, we had an opportunity to interview one of the employees last two weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Madeline.
Thank you. I was going to say it again wrong. Okay.
It's a unique, beautiful
I love
name.
Madeline. Okay. Especially the restaurant La Madeline.
Yeah.
Okay, it's good stuff.
Good
Okay.
stuff. Good
I always
pastries.
find a way to turn this back to food. But guys, we wanted to have her on because she has a unique story, unique how she's founded this business. Now I have the unique opportunity of knowing her since about, I want to say 2013. So we're going back, and our businesses look different then. And I want her to be able to kind of expand on there and kind of tell you kind of like a bit of an origin story, because I met her in 2013, but she's got way more of information about. I knew her when she already became an owner of a business, not before in that process to get to that point. And so I want her to be able to kind of take the time to talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to get into some questions about her business and strategically where they're going in the future and things to look out for from this wonderful place that we've been able to partner with for the last 6.5 years. So the floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. So thanks for having me on. I have enjoyed being a partner of DT, SOS, and now Vive for, well, I think, about 9 years now. So I've been doing this about 17 years. Makes me feel so old when I say that. So but I've owned Fusion since officially 2013. We opened in 2014. So I've been doing body work for pretty much the majority of my adult life. I started about 22 years old. I went to school in Wilmington, North Carolina, and got my education out there, and then I moved back out here. So I initially got really interested in the field because I was an athlete myself. Both my parents suffered from major surgery issues. They really followed Western medicine a lot, and I kind of saw that epidemic of over-medication. It was the height of the opioid issues. So you saw a lot of people suffering using medical and Western medicine at the time. So I grew up during that time. I was an athlete. I also really enjoyed helping people. So and science. So whenever I kind of got all that together and I wanted to do what I wanted to do for a living, or thought about what I wanted to do for a living, I found medical and orthopedic massage, which I was lucky in Texas at the time. They didn't really have a foundation for that there. I'm actually from Texas. I was born in Dallas. So when I went out there, I found a private college that specialized in medical and orthopedic massage. So I went out there. So I've been doing medical and orthopedic massage since the beginning of my career. And then I was lucky enough that when I moved back to Texas after I graduated, I found my mentor, TC Cameron, that's in Grapevine and still working out there with her own business. And she was one of the best medical and orthopedic massage therapist teachers in the nation. So I worked under her for 8 years. And then eventually, I kind of went, where's my career going? And I saw a big need for people to go to one place to kind of get several different modalities for wellness, because I was kind of hearing repeatedly from clients, I wish that there was a place that had this, and this, instead of me having to go to separate locations. So I listened to them, and then I also realized I can't physically do body work for my entire life. So I was like, okay, I need to come up with a plan. And so then in 2013, I decided to open up Fusion. I had a partner at the time. She left about 2 years out. I'm so appreciative that she was able to help me open it. But we opened in 2014, and we've been open since then. And you were, I think, our original partner.
Yeah.
So that's great.
I mean, what was really cool was like, my partner at the time is the one who kind of brought us together. And so we kind of figured out, it was our first time. I remember the first time we did cryo, and what that experience was. And I remember walking out and going, oh man, I feel like $1 million, and having that energy afterwards, and then realizing that we can get massage in the same place. We can hit the sauna in the same place, and the jade table. It just, all the pieces that make your business so cool. what's really cool is like I've watched their business really like transform over time. You know, it started out as like, hey, it was a small massage room or one or two spaces, and then it's expanded, and so they've continued to add different services, whether it's the Normatex sleeves or the somatics, which is what I really want you to be able to talk about. That somatics is a very, very interesting and unique program, and so I kind of want her to be able to expand on that because I'm not going to do it justice explaining it, but please tell them a little bit.
Yeah. So we, like Kadimah said, we started out with cryo, infrared therapy, and orthopedic massage. Like our cornerstone's always really been our body work. Well, again, you know, after working with clients for so long, I really started to see a need. I was really helping my clients. They would leave and they, you know, we get them pain free. They kind of go about their business. We would refer them to you. We would help them get back on their feet. And then 6 months later, they would come back and go, Jen, I still have the same pain. And I, again, took a step back and I said, what's going on here? And I was like, there has to be something in our brain neurologically that is affecting our body. And sure enough, there was. And that's how I found somatics. So somatics is a highly effective form of neuromuscular therapy. So somatics basically retrains our brains out of habitual tension patterns. So the best way I like to describe it is the analogy of a baseball player. You know, if a pro baseball player is out there throwing a pitch, you know, they're throwing nothing but fastballs. At first, they're throwing that fastball. They are concentrating the entire time they're throwing that fastball. They're making sure that the speed is right, the angle of their hand, the angle of their arm, the way that their legs go back, the way they step forward. But eventually, it becomes a subcortical pattern. So they'll just be on the mound, want to throw a fast pitch, and they throw the perfect fast pitch. Well, we do the same thing with our bodies on a normal basis, sitting at desks or sleeping on one side, or, you know, any kind of habit that we form on a daily basis, or a trauma. So if you fall on your hip or something, you develop a subcortical holding pattern or habitual tension pattern. So I mean, if you think about our culture nowadays, how many things do we do repetitively? It really is sad.
This is probably the most rare.
Yeah. I always say whenever Steve Jobs came out with the iPad and the iPhone, I was like, thank you for the job security, because there's no ergonomic way to look at those things. And it's really sad because you'll look at teenagers now that are actually forming dowager humps due to that. But that is a really good example of that habit forming tension that you can have. So what somatics does is I teach 2 different forms. I'm one of 3 therapists in Texas. So the other ones are in San Angelo and Austin. I mean, they're pretty darn far away. So, but there's 2 different types. There's clinical somatics, where I actually help you by providing resistance and educate you on regaining control of the muscles. And it's kind of like neuromuscular therapy, but it's a little bit more complicated. And then I also teach, which is my favorite thing because it gives you long-term mind-body awareness and relief, is the somatic classes. So it's kind of a mix between yoga and physical therapy, where I reteach you what happened to your body and how you got there in the first place, and then how to get out of it. Yeah. So it's great. So next time you get into pain, you can go, oh, I remember this is how I release that pain, and you can do it yourself. So that's my favorite thing to do.
When we look at the entire picture, well, I guess let me back up a little bit. For somatic classes, how often are you hosting those on site or on location of a specific gym, or are you holding those in your location as well?
So right now, I've been in the bodywork side, especially post-pandemic. I had to go back into the room about 5 days a week. So I've only been teaching the actual physical class 1 day a week at the Grapevine, 1 day a month at the Grapevine Rec Center. But we are doing an expansion. We're working on it right now, and I'm going to be creating a yoga room / clinical somatics room to be able to do those on a regular basis.
Well, that leads us right into that. So they've been in business a long time, and they've been looking at and having the ability to kind of expand. It's really funny because it's almost like we're twins. Like we're expanding, we're moving, we're in construction. And before we got on this podcast today, or on this Facebook Live, we were just talking about the construction process you're going through. You know, you guys are doing an expansion. I think you're doubling the size.
Doubling the size, yeah.
And so can you walk us through like what ideals that you have for the new space?
Yeah. So again, still bringing the core sessions and services that we provide, which is going to be the cryo and the infrared. Hoping to add a couple more infrared rooms. That's become really popular because people are realizing that it's one thing that you can do that you enjoy that helps everything from stress to muscle pain to inflammation. So that I'm hoping to add a couple more of those rooms. But the big thing is adding more massage rooms so we can get more high quality therapists like we have now.
Mm-hmm.
We have career therapists that love working together to create a community of education and helping their clients. So we're hoping to add a couple more rooms for that. And then also that yoga room / clinical somatics room, because we're like you guys, our thing is also community, and we want to create more of a community in Colleyville that it really promotes not only health and wellness, but then also that mindfulness of our own health and becoming accountable and really, really learning how we can take care of ourselves again. So in that room, the plan is to have more restorative type therapies like restorative yoga, yin yoga, and then the somatics work, and then also just things like vision board building and educational workshops on what we can do on a daily basis to reduce stress. So not just physical things, but then also things that we can incorporate that have actually a huge effect on our physical being that we can help, mentally.
So. Oh, for sure. And one of the things that I want to think about and really ask you this question, because this is actually, I wouldn't say selfish, both parts. Selfishly, I want to know, but also I think it's going to benefit people out there who being held accountable is annoying. That's funny.
Yeah, it is.
I want to put a big carrot on that for you, buddy. Well, one of the things that I was thinking about is like, in the course of a week, I'm probably on the maybe farther end of the spectrum where I'm working out 6 times a week. Mm-hmm. And usually those sessions are between an hour to an hour and a half. And I do some post-workout stretching, etc. But I know that I don't do enough of recovery-related activities. Mm-hmm. So if we were to say in the course of a week, let's say for most people, they're probably going to do or be at this gym 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, what would you say would be a great protocol to utilize your services or maybe your somatic services, especially when you go into the expansion and you have more classes that you're offering? What would you say would be like a good split of something to incorporate in terms of more recovery in somebody's week, whether it's infrared, cryo, etc.? What do you think that would be?
Well, that depends on things like pre-existing pain, how many times you're working out a week, and sometimes age. So, but if we're going to base it off 3 times a week, I am a realist. And I tell my clients, I know you're not going to do half of what I tell you you're going to do. So I always try and find the most efficient way to do things. So even if you come in once a week for 30 to 45 minutes, that's going to give you enough time to do an infrared session and a cryo session, and then maybe like a massage once a month for an hour.
Okay.
That is so minimal, and that's crazy that we don't do more of that, but that is like the minimal of what you can do for yourself that will have huge benefits for your life, because you're in that time, you're reducing inflammation, okay, you're decreasing pain, you're helping your body build muscle more efficiently, because what it does is basically super pump your blood and help the recovery process. So if you're trying to build muscle, it'll help with that a lot. And then the massage, not only are we helping aid and facilitate you to release that habitual tension that you've built up through the month through working out or working at a desk or standing all day at your job, or picking your kids up all day, we also can catch things before they become big things. So
I like that.
Yeah, so I tell my clients, a lot of what we do is range of motion work. So for example, if you're feeling awesome and you come in and we lift your arm and we're like, what? You can only lift your arm that high. I like to bring real world scenarios into those situations, and I'll go, okay, let's say you fall. Let's say you trip and fall and you don't have that range of motion and you go and put your arm out. That's a rotator cuff rip waiting to happen. That's a labrum tear waiting to happen. That's a pec strain. So these are the kind of things that we need to stay on top of, because when that moment comes where you're going to need that range of motion, you're not going to have it, and that's how injuries happen. So
okay, well, I just heard my protocol that I need to be incorporating there. I'm probably going to do it on Saturday.
Yeah,
most likely.
Yeah,
for sure.
Whatever day works best for you, as long as you can try and make it a time and a day that you can make pretty irregular,
I really
just like
like that.
workouts.
Very cool. So now that you're just starting this process in terms of the expansion, in terms of the construction piece of it. I know we've been talking about this for a while, but do you have an estimated timeline of when you think some of these additional spots for some of your massage therapists, and then I really like the somatics room and the restorative yoga room. Do you have any ETA that we could just anticipate something rough?
Yeah, we're kind of looking around probably August, October. August, hopefully, but construction. I mean, probably more like October.
Okay.
So yeah, hopefully up and running. And it is literally next door to our facility. We got a little bit luckier with that one. So we're going to be open. We'll probably move in a weekend and we'll get over there. So people will have to deal with a little bit of noise for a bit, but they're already like, we don't care. We just want that room.
Yeah, that's awesome. Guys, I hope that this has been beneficial. I'll just say for just a few seconds, if you have any questions. If for some reason you leave a message here and Jen is not here, we will definitely forward it on to her. But she has been, for sure, and bailed me out of back, hamstring, shoulder, pec, ab, every body part basically situations in the past, and so I'm just so glad that we can have her back on. And when you do your grand opening, for sure we're going to be there to help promote it in any way possible. But I'm so glad that you could spend some time with us on the show today, guys. Once again, this is Freestyle Friday. I'm your host Kadimah. I'm with our special guest Jennifer Duranczyk. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Instagram, we'll see you later. Facebook, peace, and we're out.